Hello. Hello, welcome to the live. We'll get started in just a minute. Welcome. Hi guys, welcome. All right, you all, let's get started. This was an interesting news day. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for joining. We'll get started. This is the kickoff day in our lives that are going to be going for 5 days a week. So we are getting started. Hopefully we're not too rusty. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited all of you are here. I love having you here, and I love doing these lives. So this should be very, very, very fun. Yes, absolutely. Hello. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Oh, we got some Michelle Obama right here.
You are being a role. I wanted to talk, Marlon, a bit about, just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender.
Absolutely.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a Black man. I wanted to talk, Marlon, a bit about.
Okay, I'm not going to make a joke about that. She said as a Black man, she was talking about him. Not going to do it.
Outside of the Home Depots, trying to get work so that they could feed their families. And I didn't say anything about it because I'm not a Latino at the Home Depot. Then they came for the Hispanic-looking folks.
Oh, they did?
Wearing hats backward with tattoos.
I don't remember they did that.
And they deported them to El Salvador. And I didn't say anything about that because
I actually don't remember they did that at
I
all.
don't wear my hair backward, and I don't have any tattoos, and I don't look like a Latino. Then they came for the Latinas at home taking care of the children. Scooped up the Latinas and the children, some of whom were American citizens, one of whom was receiving treatment for cancer. They swept them up.
Don't remember that at all.
And deported them. And I didn't say anything about it because I'm not a Latina. I'm not a little child who's an American citizen. Then they came back for the students studying on the college campuses who were here on student visas. They sent jackbooted thugs wearing masks.
Did they do that? I don't remember them doing that.
Take them thousands of miles away and put them in a private for-profit detention center where they languish at taxpayer expense. And I didn't say anything about it because I'm not a student on a foreign visa. And then they
What is he talking about?
came and arrested a white female judge, a state court judge, presiding over her courtroom and the litigants therein, managing the affairs of her court. And they came and arrested her and
Hi,
walked her
welcome.
to jail.
Thank you, Alex.
And I didn't say anything then because I'm not a judge, a white female judge, state court.
Okay.
But then they came for me. And I looked around and there was nobody left because I had remained silent and they had taken everybody off. Now,
All right, so that was a Democrat, and okay, so let me talk about these kids that were being deported. So these kids, they were parents of illegal immigrants. And the illegal immigrants, the adults, were the ones that were up for deportation. And these parents, they were given the choice. Do you want your child to stay, or do you want your child to go with you? It was the parents that decided they want their child to go with them. So that's what happened. We are listening to Democrat Hank Johnson. So that was Democrat Hank Johnson today on the floor. And then here, I'm going to show you this. This is also what's happening right now. So you're going to see this right now. You're going to see Democrats feeling sorry for this. Let me just show you this to you. Do you see this? Look at that. So let me explain to you what's going on in this photo. Unbelievable. But Democrats are going to fall for it. They're all going to fall for it. Don't twist it. Reuters is operating surveillance drones over U.S. detention facilities, revealing their location and identity of the dangerous Venezuelan terrorists being held there. So they're sending drones over these detention facilities. And then the gang members that are in these detention facilities are making these SOS signs. So what are they going to do? They're going to pull at the heartstrings of Democrats. Meanwhile, these are dangerous gang members who are probably more than likely lying about their situations, but they're going to pull at the heartstrings of Democrats. But that's what they do. And they forget that, unfortunately, you know, criminals, they lie. They try to get out of things. They lie. That's what they do. That's what criminals do. But Democrats don't understand this. They think everyone is a sweet little innocent baby. So there's that. And here we have another accident by a non-citizen truck driver.
An 18-wheeler driver accused of causing a deadly pile-up crash on I-35 in North Austin last month is now out of jail. The Travis County Sheriff's Office confirms Solomon Wadikil Araya bonded out this afternoon. He's accused of intoxication manslaughter and intoxication assault tied to the crash that killed 5 people. Yesterday, a judge reduced his bond from just over $1 million to $7,000 after blood test results showed he did not have any drugs or alcohol in his system the night of the crash. An 18-wheeler driver accused of causing a deadly pile-up crash on I-35 in North Austin last month is now out of jail.
Hi, John. Hi, I'm Candy. How are you guys doing? Yes, hello. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Oh, that's okay. I'm here. All right, here we have Elon Musk.
Well, Mr. President,
Kelly, thank you very much. Elon, I love the double hat, but he's the only one that can do that. Get away with it.
well, Mr. President,
Double
they
hat.
say I wear a lot of hats. It's true. Even my hat has a hat.
Kelly, thank you very much.
Here's James O'Keefe.
What's up, everybody? This is James O'Keefe. Emergency journalism press conference time. I'm in the car, by the way, to the airport. I'm always coming and going to airports. You've all seen this Elon Musk interview. There's one particularly overlooked part of this interview. I'm going to play this one quote by Elon.
What I care about is the reality of goodness, not the
It was
perception
a good cabinet
of it.
meeting for
And what I
sure.
see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil.
This
All right,
is
let's
James
listen to that
O'Keefe. Emergency journalism press conference time. I'm in the car, by the way, to the airport. I'm always coming and going to airports. You've all seen this Elon Musk interview. There's one particularly overlooked part of this interview. I'm going to play this one quote by Elon.
What I care about is the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil. Fuck them.
That's remarkable because a couple of whistleblowers and insiders were so inspired by him saying that. They were on the verge, they were on the fence of blowing the whistle, of giving the information, and now they're willing to do it as a result of what Elon said. Big things coming at OMG. We're producing a lot early next week.
Ruh-roh.
Stay tuned.
Well, I'll be interested to see what they're doing. For sure. Yes, absolutely. Here's RFK Jr. in the White House.
The principle, we have ended HHS as the role as the vector, the principal vector in this country for child trafficking. And during the Biden administration, HHS became a collaborator in child trafficking and for sex and for slavery. And we have ended that, and we're very aggressively going out and trying to find these children, 300,000 children that were lost by the Biden administration. We have ended HHS as the role as the vector.
Thank God for Elon Musk buying Twitter and slashing wasteful government. I totally agree. Thank the Lord for that, honestly.
Hi, folks. It is Wednesday, and it is the 101st day of the second term of the Trump presidency, and I want to talk about some things that are going on. First, the New York Times has reported that Donald Trump has admitted that he can bring Mr. Abrego Garcia, who is still in jail, having been wrongly deported to El Salvador, where he is in a prison there, that he can bring him back, just that he won't because of his alleged gang affiliation. You will remember this is the case where the Supreme Court has ordered that the United States facilitate his return.
By the way, he was previously ordered to be deported. So this is all BS.
You know, first they came for the Latinos outside of the Home Depots.
Out of their mind.
So that they could feed their families.
What?
And I didn't say anything about it because I'm not a Latino at the Home Depot. Then they came for the Hispanic-looking folks wearing hats back.
Oh, now they're just going after people that look Hispanic. That's what he's saying. They're just going after people that wear backwards hats and that look Hispanic.
They could feed their families. And I didn't say anything about it because I'm not a Latino.
And
at
there
the
was
Home
nothing
Depot.
to say about it.
Then they came for the Hispanic-looking folks wearing hats backward with tattoos. And they deported them to El Salvador. And I didn't say anything about that because I don't wear my hair backward, and I don't have any tattoos, and I don't look like a Latino. Then they came for the Latinas.
Oh, they did?
At home, taking care of the children.
Oh.
Scooped up the Latinas and the children, some of whom
were
American citizens. One of whom was receiving treatment for cancer. They swept them up.
Exactly.
And deported them. And I didn't say anything about it because I'm not a Latino. I'm not a little child who's an American citizen. Then they came back for the students studying on the college campuses.
What is he talking about?
Who were here on student visas. They sent jackbooted thugs wearing masks to pick them up.
What is he talking about?
Take them thousands of miles away and put them in a private for-profit detention center where they languish at taxpayer expense. And I didn't say anything about it because I'm not a student.
Okay.
On a foreign visa.
All right.
And then they came and arrested a white female judge, a state court judge, presiding over her courtroom and the litigants therein, managing the affairs of her court. And they came and arrested her and walked her to jail. And I didn't say anything then because I'm not a judge, a white female judge, state court. But then they came for me. And I looked around and there was nobody left because I had remained silent and they had taken everybody off. Now,
what is he talking about? So this was another Democrat representative. Just, I guess, I don't know, talking absolute nonsense. What is he even talking about? I have no idea what this guy is even talking about. Here we go, starting with, yep, exactly, making everything about race. It's exhausting. Wait, here's Hakeem Jeffries.
That of the health care of the American people. It is outrageous that Donald Trump and congressional Republicans are trying to enact the largest cut to Medicaid in American history.
Is that what's happening?
They will hurt families, hurt children, hurt seniors, hurt women, hurt veterans, and hurt disabled Americans. Hospitals will close, nursing homes will shut down and people will die. This budget that Republicans are trying to jam down the throats of the American people at the direction of Donald Trump is unconscionable, unacceptable, and un-American. And Senate Democrats and House Democrats are going to do everything possible to stop this of the health care of the American people. It is outrageous that Donald...
Wow. Here's Caroline Levitt.
Influencer Briefing. I look forward to taking your questions. We will continue to be. So thanks for coming to the Influencer Briefing. I look forward to taking your questions. And Deborah, why don't you kick us off?
Congratulations on 100 incredible days. And over the first 100 days, the majority of policies that we've seen from the Trump administration have been either targeted at foreign affairs, such as bringing the American hostages home, or attempting to end the war between Ukraine and Russia, or on long-term goals such as cutting government spending with DOGE. What policies can we expect to see rolled out over the next few months that Americans will directly feel the effects of in order to secure the 2026 midterms for the Republican Party and keep his approval rating historically high?
Yeah, the first answer that comes to mind, Deborah, is definitely tax cuts. The president will continue to be. So thanks for coming to...
Interesting. Talk about the good for a change? What does that mean? Oh, for them? Yeah, I don't think they know how to do that. They have to blame everything on something. They can't take accountability. Oh, wow. Here's TMZ. Hold on.
One thing that
this should actually be really interesting.
One thing that we have seen reflected is the polls, and that maybe the U.S. citizens don't like what they're seeing happen in the office with the president enriching himself and also helping friends. And
first of all, how is Donald Trump enriching himself? He doesn't take a paycheck. If anything, he's losing money being the president. He's never taken a paycheck for being the president.
And revenge. I mean, I agree. Look, all presidents, I think, help their friends, and some of them probably even get revenge, but nobody has done it in such an open manner where they're just saying it every day. The president coming out and launching investigations and things like that. That's what feels different.
But investigations against people who had contrary opinions.
Right. And the polls, we should say, like, we'll just take the Fox poll, so that's the one you would think would be lean more his way, but the disapproval is at 55%, and it's higher on some other polls, but clearly the American people don't like some of what they're seeing.
I'm a little bit skeptical. First of all, the only poll that matters as far as I'm concerned is on Election Day. So the fact that Trump was able to win the popular vote for the first time as a Republican in 20 years tells me there is a groundswell of popular support. So who knows? Maybe it goes up one day, maybe it goes down one day. To your point, though, on we've never seen the clarity of a politician punishing his enemies and rewarding his friends. I don't think that's true. I think in 2010, Barack Obama went on Univision and said verbatim his view of the political campaign, which was, we're going to punish our friends and we're going to reward our enemies who stand with us on issues that are important to us. That is a verbatim quote from Barack Obama. In this case, though, you got to ask yourself, is Trump really rewarding his friends? Because Trump has one best rich guy friend in the White House. Who is it? Obviously, it's Elon Musk.
Who's benefiting? I know he's hurting on Tesla.
But yeah, I don't think he's benefiting.
He's benefiting.
Trying to turn that around with sales.
When you start looking at what he was trying to do with Starlink, I mean, he's getting involved with the FAA on that. He is involved in all of the organizations that he's tampering with that benefit him directly. So that is undeniable.
Elon Musk has been a government contractor for a very long time. His businesses have been involved with the government for a long time. So I'm just looking at the bottom line money. If the claim is Trump is enriching his friends, then I say, okay, in December, right before Elon starts with Doge, his net worth was over $480 billion. His net worth today, directly because of his involvement in Doge, is $330 billion. That means the president's best rich guy friend in the White House lost $150 billion on the whole deal. If Trump's trying to enrich his friends, he's got to do a better job of it.
I mean, that's a really good point. Let's look at the comments. Yeah, it makes no sense. Their stance makes Elon Musk doesn't make any sense. It's the exact same thing for Trump. He did nothing but lose money since taking this position. He's not enriching himself. He lost money. He doesn't even take a salary as president. I think Elon is helping because he's truly worried about the direction of the U.S. and the whole world. He's doing it all for free. No, I absolutely think so too. I don't think there's an ulterior motive with him. I think he genuinely cares. He likes being involved. That's it. How is he enriching himself? If anything, he's putting himself on the line and putting himself in danger for helping Donald Trump. That's why it's so silly. It's very silly. What they're accusing him of. Judge releases the alleged Tesla firebomber citing ADHD? No way.
Priya and John, the government wanted Owen McIntyre to spend the time before trial behind bars, but the judge in Boston sided with the defense in this case, which cited multiple medical issues facing the 19-year-old, including autism spectrum disorder, gender dysphoria, and ADHD. McIntyre's attorney argued the teen should be released citing serious and ongoing medical needs and treatments that could not or would not be provided while in federal detention. The defense filing says McIntyre is being treated for depression and since March has been receiving gender-affirming care. That care would likely be interrupted or terminated in federal custody. Priya and John, the government wanted...
Wow.
The opposite of stand your ground. So the sheriff in California is upset because they got this new law that basically is the opposite of stand your ground. It's run away. And they do have this in other blue states. Get this. If you are in your own home and someone breaks in with clear intent to cause you harm, they are saying you must flee from your own home.
Thank you very much, Clown Man. That's very sweet.
Yo, check this out.
Hello, California.
Thank
Riverside
you,
County
Clown Man.
Sheriff Chad Bianco.
Yeah, so this is wild. This is what they're doing in California right now. So it absolutely is. It's basically saying if you try and defend yourself against anyone, you can get in trouble. And by the way, it's important to pay attention to these things. Thank you, Clown Man. It's very important to pay attention to these things because California is the future of progressive America. So if you continue to elect progressive individuals, this is going to be America. So listen to this.
So the sheriff in California is upset because they got this new law that basically is the opposite of stand your ground. It's run away. And they do have this in other blue states. Get this. If you are in your own home and someone breaks in with clear intent to cause you harm, they are saying you must flee from your own home. Yo, check this out.
Hello, California. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. For more than a decade, the leadership in Sacramento has literally tied the hands of law enforcement and made it almost impossible for us to protect you. Now, they are coming after you and your ability to protect yourself. Under a new bill, AB 1333, by California Assembly member from Santa Monica, Rick Chavez Spur, you will no longer be allowed to protect yourself when confronted by violent criminals. Under this bill, if a criminal attacks you or your family and you defend yourself, and that criminal dies as a result of his criminal behavior, you could be arrested and charged with murder.
Isn't that crazy?
What's happening in your field? You are an anti-squatting activist.
Yeah, so vacate your house and all of your precious valuables and avoid confrontation. Sounds like Gavin Newsom's new idea. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hi, RH, how are you doing?
You are an anti-squatting activist. What's happening in your field?
I have a case.
Exactly.
You had somebody that came in and either posed as a caregiver or was a caregiver and decided not to do any caregiving. She gained access on an 88-year-old woman's home. The elderly woman asked to have her removed. So she reaches out to the service that provided her and was told, "We fired her. However, we can't help you get her out of your house."
My guest today is Flash Shelton, an anti-squatting activist who's an expert in the field of squatting in California. Today, he'll share with us the loopholes in the law that allow squatters in California to come and take over homes.
I'm good. How are you,
He will also
RH?
tell us how he deals with squatters and how he gets them out.
The truth is,
Yeah, California is wild. Wild. Yeah, again, oh, this is so good. Here's a heated debate. You know, I used to go on TMZ. I don't anymore because I was never like a political guest. I was just a guest that would go on and talk about like pop culture. But I felt like I always disagreed with the host. And I don't know, it just made me kind of uncomfortable because I wasn't there as anyone political. I was just there to give like commentary on like pop stuff. But here's Michael Knowles on TMZ. I'm so proud of Michael Knowles. But I felt like I always clashed with the hosts of TMZ. Here we go.
I've never seen anything
Oh, by the way, they're talking about, okay, so they're talking about Trump. Here we go.
I've never seen anything like this meme coin before. Is it fair to say Donald Trump has put the White House up for sale?
No, I don't think that's fair at all. The reason you haven't seen anything like the meme coin before is because meme coins had existed for about 7.5 minutes now. Full disclosure, my portfolio does not really include a lot of meme coins. I prefer treasuries and equities.
Can I just say, I've met Michael Knowles in person. He's just the nicest guy. He's exactly who he is on camera. Just the nicest, most respectful, just like coolest guy. Like a really nice, cool guy. Okay, let's start again.
I've never seen anything like this meme coin before. Is it fair to say Donald Trump has put the White House up for sale?
No, I don't think that's fair at all. The reason you haven't seen anything like the meme coin before is because meme coins had existed for about 7.5 minutes now. Full disclosure, my portfolio does not really include a lot of meme coins. I prefer treasuries and equities and things like that. But people can buy it. It's not really a serious financial instrument. It's a meme. It's a little bit of a joke.
Yeah.
To your point, though, on the sweepstakes of getting to have dinner with the president, politicians do this all the time. There are all sorts of sweepstakes to have dinner with big politicians, including presidents. I'm old enough to remember when Bill Clinton was renting out the Lincoln bedroom like it was a Holiday Inn. And so I understand why people are saying that Trump might be enriching himself or there might be something untoward. But what I would do is just look at the numbers here. If you go to Forbes, you look at what Trump was worth before he was elected president. He was worth an estimated $4.5 billion. Today, Forbes says he's worth $5.2 billion. So it's an increase, but relatively it's not a huge increase, and that includes 4 years as a private citizen. That also was driven in large part by Trump's founding Trump Media and Technology Group, which he did, I will remind you, because he was booted off all of the other media and technology platforms.
But he was losing money on his social media platform. And when you look at the 4 years in between, he had all sorts of problems paying lawyers and businesses failing. And we're looking at 100 days where it's been supercharged. So to look back 4.5 years doesn't feel quite right because those 4 years in between were not exactly salad days for Donald Trump.
You're right. It has taken off relatively well, and he's had a relatively modest increase in his net worth. But then if you look at the other numbers and you compare that to someone like his immediate predecessor, Joe Biden. When Joe Biden was elected vice president, he was worth $100,000. Today, just after leaving office, Joe Biden is worth an estimated $10 million. That's a pretty big jump. I didn't think the presidency paid that much. Barack Obama entered office. He was worth $1.3 million. Today, shortly after leaving the White House, he was worth $20 million.
But it's post-presidential stuff. But it's post-presidential stuff.
Right. Everybody knows that after they leave the White Office,
speeches, and all that stuff. We know that.
What we haven't seen is someone doing it while they're in office. I think that's what feels different to Harvey.
I'm not giving you numbers of Barack Obama after having been out of office for 7 or 8 years. I'm telling you that very shortly after leaving the White House, he got that great $20 million deal. A better example probably is the Clintons. Bill Clinton, when he entered office, was worth something like $700,000. When he left the White House, he was worth, I think it was about $10 million. That the Clintons, while his wife was preparing to run for president, made $240 million, and their slush fund foundation raised $2 billion before shuttering the minute that she lost the White House. So I'm not denying that politicians make money on offices. By the way, we haven't even touched on Joe Biden's entire family enriching themselves on his government service. I'm just pointing out, when you look at those kinds of jumps, especially including Trump having been a private citizen and a famously successful businessman for 4 years in there, the amount of increase in Trump's net worth is relatively modest, actually.
Interesting. I love Michael Knowles. I have a lot of respect for him. Let me look at the comments section. POTUS Trump is not in this battle to enrich himself. He will go down in history as one of the most significant POTUS in our history, and I believe that will please him more than a few dollars. He and his family will be fine. He is not greedy, just patriotic. I agree with that. He's not making any money being in the White House. In fact, he's losing money being in the White House. He's definitely not making money. And he doesn't even take his paycheck. The President of the United States of America makes $400,000 per year. That's the salary for the president. And Donald Trump, his first term, every year he would donate that $400,000. So he would cut it up in increments and donate it back into the government. He never took a paycheck, ever. Ever. So people saying that he's enriching himself, I mean, look, if you were to say he has a really big ego that's why he wants to be president, okay, that's fair. You might have an argument there, but to say he's enriching himself, that's absolutely ridiculous. He has lost money and he doesn't take a paycheck. The same with Elon Musk. They're saying he's enriching himself. No, he's not. He doesn't get paid for what he's doing. He's putting himself on the line. He's losing money. So it's just ridiculous that people say that. If you're going to have an argument, at least have a believable argument. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I used to go on TMZ, but I don't anymore. One, because it was just too big of a pain in the butt. And two, I felt like I always, I was trying to please the host because I was just a guest talking about, celebrity stuff, but I felt like I always disagreed with them. Oh, gosh. Okay, here's another truck driver. So one of the biggest things... So another big thing, there's been a silent crisis. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but there has been a silent crisis among, trucking. There's a lot of truckers on our road that don't have American CDLs and that cannot speak English. And yes, technically you are supposed to be proficient in English to be on the road, to be truck driving, but unfortunately that's not the case. You have a lot of truck drivers that can't understand English, they can't understand the road signs, and there's a lot of fatal accidents because of it. So here's an accident that just recently happened.
An 18-wheeler driver accused of causing a deadly pileup crash on I-35 in North Austin last month is now out of jail. The Travis County Sheriff's Office confirms Solomon Wadikiel Araya bonded out this afternoon. He's accused of intoxication manslaughter and intoxication assault tied to the crash that killed 5 people. Yesterday, a judge reduced his bond from just over $1 million to $7,000. after blood test results showed he did not have any drugs or alcohol in his system the night of the crash.
But he can't speak English. Okay, this is a really big deal. Yeah.
For everybody. While he says there is a need.
Here we go. Here's more in truckers. I've been really interested in what's going on with trucking in the US. And guess what? American truckers, they follow me on X. That's very exciting. I think it's because I've been so interested in what's going on with trucking. Okay, here's some more stuff.
Russell Rocha has been a truck driver for 17 years. We need to open the door to opportunity for everybody. While he says there is a need for drivers, Rocha sees the logic behind the executive order signed by President Donald Trump on Monday. If you can't read or understand a certain sign that's a little dangerous, it could affect all of us.
For
the
sure.
new order requires truckers to demonstrate proficiency using the English language before getting behind the wheel. According to the executive order, proficiency means drivers can read and understand traffic signs and communicate.
You also have to understand dispatch. Like it's not just knowing like basic English. You have to understand. I don't know how to explain it. Not necessarily like nuance, but there's so much more to it, especially with trucking, man.
Russell Rocha has been a truck driver for 17 years. We need to open the door to opportunity for everybody. While he says there is a need for drivers, Rocha sees the logic behind the executive order signed by President Donald Trump on Monday. If you can't read or understand a certain sign that's a little dangerous, it could affect all of us. The new order requires truckers to demonstrate proficiency using the English language before getting behind the wheel. According to the executive order, proficiency means drivers can read and understand traffic signs and communicate with traffic safety, border patrol, and agricultural checkpoints, as well as others. Es una ley inefasta. It's an awful law. Joman Rivera told me. En mis 15 años como camionero. In my 15 years as truck driver, I never had an issue with English.
He's speaking in Spanish, though. Why are you speaking in Spanish?
Rivera claims he recognized the signs and communicated with officers with his limited English. First off, but according to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, there are documented cases where drivers' inability to read signs and speak the language may have contributed to a series of fatal accidents.
We have to watch out for lives. I mean, that's most important, right? It depends on how many people are affected and how many people decide to...
The guy was literally had an earpiece and he's like, I don't understand why it's a problem while he's speaking in Spanish.
Exit the industry because of this.
Rivera says he's already seen many truck drivers putting their trucks on sale. He also said...
Good. Let's see the comment. In my opinion, leads to discrimination. No, it doesn't. It's about safety. He's been driving a truck in the United States for 15 years and hasn't bothered to learn English. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I don't give a crap that he's impacted by this. He had 15 years to learn the language. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, I want to read your comment. Someone told me his friend is illegal and has no CDL and they pay him under the table. But he makes far less, which is perfect for the company because they know being illegal doesn't have any language. Yeah, exactly. That's what's happening. A lot of people, and this is the pushback you get on like people like Trump making this executive order saying that like you have to be proficient in English in order to be a truck driver. Because what they'll say, what they'll push back on you is, well, that's already the rule. You're already supposed to know English. Okay, but that's not the reality of what's happening. You have states that are actively pushing back on this. You have people that are not enforcing this. And then you have people like this. And I'm trying to find this interview with other truckers that are being really honest about what's actually going on the streets. Here we go.
I don't get it. Why does the president continue to embarrass us? Everyone is wearing
Oh, shut up. Oh, I wish I could find these interviews. There was interviews with truck drivers saying, yeah, there's a lot of accidents on the road with people that don't know English. And it shouldn't be happening.
Mandating that any commercial truck driver in the United States speaks proficient English. This is really about two things. One is,
all right, here we go.
Trump is expected to sign an executive order today mandating that any commercial truck driver in the United States speaks proficient English.
Oh, we got someone here. Okay, hi Sarah. As an ex over-the-road truck driver, I can tell you it's always been a problem. But go to a state like Tennessee and get pulled into a scale and say habla English. Okay, park it. Wow. Yeah, I've been following this trucking thing for a while, and it seems like it's a really big issue.
Donald Trump is expected to sign an executive order today mandating that any commercial truck driver in the United States speaks proficient English. This is really about two things. One is safety, and the other is the massive amount of capacity that's been added to the industry, largely from non-resident workers in the United States. So let's talk about the safety element. You've got a truck with 80,000 pounds barreling down the highway. I think there's a real solid argument that that driver should be able to speak and understand what he's reading on the roads and be able to perform that task successful. Again, communication is really important. This is true in any form of transportation.
Have a nice night.
It's certainly true when you've got a commercial vehicle driving down the road, again, with 80,000 pounds. I think we all want to make sure that the roads are safe and that the people driving the cargo understand the rules, regulations, and can interpret them in the day-to-day execution. The second part of this is really related to the trucking industry. The trucking industry has been struggling under a multiple-year Great Freight Recession, which is one of the largest downturns in trucking history.
Oh, wow.
And a large percent of the trucking population has been includes folks that do not speak English. And a lot of these folks are over here making an honest living, trying to keep the freight moving. But the problem is the trucking industry has way too much capacity, and some of these folks actually don't even have work permits in the United States.
Wow.
This is a way to actually enforce that. It will do two things. It will constrict the capacity that is out there and make it so that there are less really trucks on the road. That will help the trucking industry because it will right-size the capacity. And the second thing it will do is make sure, or at least strongly put a framework in place that restricts the trucking driver population to folks that actually have visas here to work in the United States.
Yeah.
Visas or are residents. So all of this is important to follow really from a capacity situation and from a safety situation. And I think the trucking industry is largely going to applaud this because it does take excess capacity out of the market. At the same time, does enforce safety. So it's something to watch over the next couple of months. We'll see how this impacts capacity. Right now, I think it's a positive development for the trucking industry. One, but for the most part, the industry, particularly the truck drivers, will applaud.
All right, let's go over to American Trucker before we get out of here. American Truckers. Yay. Okay. So they've been really big on this for a while. Let's see what they have to say. They applaud this, by the way. See if I can find a good sound bite of them. All right, here we go.
The third thing that we listed goes back to my personal.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going.
The third thing that we listed goes back to my personal experience with the USMCA trade lanes. And so in my past interview with you, I told you that I did automotive inbound logistics. So we would haul the parts into the automotive assembly factory. All of that business now has been transitioned from the American truck drivers to foreign truck drivers. It's almost exclusively hauled by truck drivers from Mexico and Canada operating on B1 visitor visas. And so we need to ban that, or we need to come up with a solution to control what percentage each driver group gets. We should restrict and ban the use of a visitor visa to perform work in the United States. How is it that truck drivers from foreign countries are allowed to use visitor visas to perform work? It's not even a work visa. But there's no enforcement of that. So when a truck driver gets past the inward immigration zones, which is like I think it's mile marker 12 on Interstate 35, just north of the border. So when you cross the border, you talk to immigration. You go a little bit inward, 10 to 12 miles or so, you have to talk to immigration again. And then once you're past that, you never see another immigration officer. DOT officer, state police, they're not allowed to ask you about immigration. They're not allowed to ask you for your immigration documents. So why are we allowing these drivers past that zone? The whole purpose of the commercial trade zone was so that they could use these visitor visas for a guy to simply come across the border, drop his trailer, go back to the foreign country. And then if he tried to abuse that, we had a check station 10, 12 miles in that would check his immigration status and say, whoa, you're not supposed to come past this point. And at some point over the last 10 years, somebody made a phone call and said, hey, y'all let them through. And they just started going through the checkpoints. And so...
here's Steve Bannon.
We need to restrict that. We need common sense.
This now. What shape is the American trucking industry in your opinion?
So do you hear him? He said his question was, what state is the American truck driving situation just as a whole in your opinion to this guy?
Steve, it's in the worst shape of my 25-year career.
Worst shape of his 25-year career.
A 3-year-long freight recession. Of course, we call it a supply crisis. And that situation has deteriorated rapidly over the past couple of weeks as the imports coming into our seaports has started to slow down. You know, I think Gord described it as an accordion effect. There's a delay in 3 to 4 weeks of transit time, and even more in some cases, for those shipments to arrive to our ports. And so we're starting to feel those effects. We really started to see it last week. You know, in my day job, I'm actually running a trucking company, and so this advocacy work that we're doing is really just part-time work that we're doing on the side to do these issues. But in my day job, I'm actually operating a large.
Dorian, I didn't know about this. Not surprised. Yeah, that's why they're calling it a silent crisis. But everyone should be aware of it because we all travel on highways. All of us travel on highways. And there's a lot of accidents are happening with people that don't understand English. A lot of accidents are happening with these truck drivers. That's why it's such a crisis. It's not only a crisis for safety. I mean, obviously that's the number one top priority is safety, but it's also a crisis because American truck drivers are losing their jobs because these guys are, again, like every other industry, they're being hired for way cheaper, which is driving down wages for other truck drivers.
Fleet of refrigerated freight, and so I've seen that situation deteriorate in the last couple of weeks. I've seen it rapidly start to dissolve last week, and so we're really predicting that we're headed into,
Hi, Kevin.
over the next 2 to 3 weeks, a crisis for the American trucking industry. I believe unlike anything that we've ever seen. I lived through 2008 and 2009. At the time, I was hauling automotive parts. We saw factories go down for 11 to 13 weeks, and during that time, we had hope. We had hope because we knew that when the factories came back on, that we would have adequate work and that we would have cash flow and a profit margin that would suffice. The problem with today's market is there's not much hope for the American trucking industry because we've been in this crisis now for 3 years before the tariffs conversation.
At least in the pandemic, you're like, it'll come back. You know, like this is just temporary. It'll come back. But yeah, I totally understand what he's saying.
Even come to fruition. And so my concern right now is that a lot of these special interest groups are going to try to lay the blame of the trucking industry faults on the tariffs. And that's not the case.
Yep, that's what they're doing with everything. They're blaming it all on the tariffs. It's not the tariffs. I'm sure you can totally blame some short-term things on the tariffs, but they're going to do this. They're going to say it's the supply because of the tariffs. No.
The trucking industry was in shambles long before we ever mentioned tariffs. And so it's important that the administration and the cabinet
all right. That makes sense.
That makes sense. Trying to place blame at their feet for something that was done in the prior administration, and we need to take action on those things that were done. And so that's what we did, that's what we lined out in that letter to Secretary Duffy that said, you know, number one, all drivers should have English proficiency for the public safety of our highways, but we also had 4 other things that were right below that really get into the immigration and the economics and the national security issues that have arisen from all of these. And so the second thing was that they need to revoke and ban all of these non-domiciled CDLs.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
That they've issued to non-citizens. For 20 years of my career, we did not pass out CDLs at state DMVs to non-citizens of the country. The CDL system was maintained for American citizens. And so I don't know of any legislation or law that was written in Washington to make it to where these DMVs could start issuing these CDLs to non-citizens. It's my understanding that there was some guidelines that were issued by our federal agency down to these state DMVs that took out some ambiguity.
Dorian says, economics predicted a lot of this when immigration surge began. It would cripple social services, drive wages down for American workers. Didn't know it was affecting truck drivers like this. Oh yeah, I know it's crazy. I totally agree with you. Obviously, it's common sense. I'm the same way. This is honestly why I've been following this trucking thing for like a few months now. At first kind of lightly, but within the past few weeks I've been following a lot more because I never thought it would hit truck driving. In truck driving, it's such an American, like, you know, you don't think it would hit trucking, but it is. It for sure is. And that's why they're calling it, so this guy, they're calling it the silent crisis because a lot of people aren't aware that this is happening. But once you open your eyes and you start paying attention to some of these accidents that are happening, like you almost can't unsee it.
Remove some language.
But it's bad.
Where they thought, oh, okay.
I feel like trucking is like the last industry you would think that this would affect, but it for sure is. And a lot of these accidents, I'm seeing accident after accident, and the people getting involved in these accidents, they can't speak English.
Okay, we can take advantage of this loophole now and start issuing this to solve our driver shortage problem.
Driver shortage.
And so that should be a loophole that we should be able to close pretty easily.
Exactly.
Because, you know, not only do we have national security and safety concerns, but they have flooded the labor market. And that's why we coined the term.
Yes, they have flooded the labor market, and they're pushing American truck drivers out.
Labor dumping. The whole purpose of opening up our CDL system was so they could dump in foreign labor at reduced wages to put pressure on the American truck driver. And so your American truck driver right now, their standard of living has been greatly reduced over the past.
Yep, and truck driving used to be a pretty lucrative thing. Like truck drivers make good money. They do. because a lot of times you're on the road for a really long time. You're away from your family, so it makes sense. Truck driving, it was something where you made good money, and they're taking that. And again, it's another thing that they are taking away from Americans. And I'm very passionate about this. I'm like, truck drivers should be able to make good money. They deserve to make good money. That's why they always have made good money. And now this is happening.
Last couple of years, their pay standards are down. Their quality of life is down.
Yep.
The amount of time that they have to spend away from their family is up. And so our American truck drivers are really on their last leg. And my biggest concern is if we don't take action on this issue of the oversupply, the effect of the tariffs is going to completely fall on the American truck driver. It's going to push the remaining American truck drivers and American trucking companies that we have in the business out right now at this critical time. And the replacement cycle that's been going on for the last 4 years is going to intensify.
Did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said? The replacement cycle. This is not a political guy.
And that's because the American truck driver and the American trucking company can't operate at the same cost level that these foreign operators and these foreign truck drivers can. And so the first companies to lose in this tariff engagement are going to be the American truck driver and the American trucking company. The third thing that we listed.
Yeah, keep going.
The third thing that we listed goes back to my personal experience with the USMCA trade lanes. And so in my past interview with you, I told you that I did automotive inbound logistics. So we would haul the parts into the automotive assembly factory. All of that business now has been transitioned from the American truck drivers to foreign truck drivers. It's almost exclusively hauled by truck drivers from Mexico and Canada operating on B1 visitor visas. And so we need to ban that, or we need to come up with a solution to control what percentage each driver group gets. We should restrict and ban the use of a visitor visa to perform work in the United States. How is it that truck drivers from foreign countries are allowed to use visitor visas to perform work? It's not even a work visa. But there's no...
And that puts everyone in danger because they are on the road with you, your family, your children, your friends. They are on the road with all of us.
There's no enforcement of that. So when a truck driver gets past the inward immigration zones, which is like I think it's mile marker 12 on Interstate 35, just north of the border. So when you cross the border, you talk to immigration. You go a little bit inward, 10 to 12 miles or so, you have to talk to immigration again. And then once you're past that, you never see another immigration officer. DOT officer, state police, they're not allowed to ask you about immigration. They're not allowed to ask you for your immigration documents.
Actually, this is where speaking of Ron DeSantis, we're circling back to what we talked about at the very beginning of the live. This is what Ron DeSantis did. This is why what Ron DeSantis did is so genius, because he signed an executive order which allows his highway patrol to work with Homeland Security. So his highway patrol, they are allowed to ask about immigration, and they are allowed to take you in for immigration status. So this is what Ron DeSantis did. He allowed his highway patrol to be trained and to be deputized to work with Homeland Security, which is genius. And if we bring that back to all of this crisis that's happening, great move by Ron DeSantis, like really great move.
So why are we allowing these drivers past that zone? The whole purpose of the commercial trade zone was so that they could use these visitor visas for a guy to simply come across the border, drop his trailer, go back to the foreign country.
Yeah.
And then if he tried to abuse that, we had a check station 10, 12 miles in that would check his immigration status and say, whoa, you're not supposed to come past this point. And at some point over the last 10 years, somebody made a phone call and said, hey, y'all let them through. And they just started going through the checkpoints. And so we need to restrict that. We need common sense back into these drivers operating on visitor visas. We need common sense back into that this trade between it's not right that we take all of our factories in the United States and move those to Mexico, and we move those up into Canada, and then we insource all of the workers for the truck driving jobs. Can we not at least just have the truck driving jobs? If you're going to take our factories, can we at least keep our truck driving jobs?
Wow, yeah, you take all our factories out of here, and now you're taking our truck driving jobs, And again, that used to be a blue collar job where you could make really good money. Like truckers make good money, or at least they used to. I don't know what they're making now, but that's an American job where like he's right. They're taking everything.
And so that item right there addresses that. And then for the families of Deanne Miller, for the families of LaDonya Bry, look, we want to say thank you for the victory today for this executive order.
Mm-hmm.
But we need criminal statutes for these non-citizen drivers who are abusing work visas, who are abusing these CDLs, who don't speak English, and then when they're doing all of these things knowingly, knowing that they're not qualified, knowing that they're not vetted, knowing that they haven't been properly trained, and they're abusing the system, and they kill somebody like Scott Miller, or they kill somebody like Mark Bryant, they need to be held accountable for negligent homicide.
Absolutely.
Right now, these guys are all receiving misdemeanors. Our law enforcement agencies don't know what to do. Our prosecutors don't know what to do, so they all get a slap on the wrist, they get released, and that's how you get the situation like Ignacio Cruz Morales, who's been deported 16 times, 17 times now, and every time he gets deported, he gets in another commercial truck and drives straight back across the border and goes back to work. And so we need criminal statutes to address that, so these guys are charged with homicide and they're given felonies. And then we need a task force. We need a task force to get our arms around this population. Who are these people? I've got a conference call scheduled later this week to talk about one of these drivers in this pool is on the most wanted list from India, and he's received one of these non-domiciled CDLs. So how are we vetting people when the people that are driving our trucks here in the United States are on the most wanted list from a foreign country? So we know
we have become a sanctuary. I'm not even joking. Obviously I'm saying this as a joke, but it's not a joke if you think about it. Our country, we have become a sanctuary for the world's criminals to escape to and to just build a new identity. We really have.
We know that there's no vetting whatsoever. We knew that before we found out about this driver because we saw the licenses that were being issued with made-up birth dates. We saw the licenses that were being issued with no first name and with no last name. And so, there's just really no law and order right now in the CDL issuance to truck drivers here in the United States, and that's why the American trucking industry is being destroyed. You cannot have an unlimited amount of supply of drivers come in without it impacting the overall living standards and the conditions for the American trucking company.
Exactly.
Shannon, how do people find out more about you on social media and how they get to the American Truckers United?
You can follow us on Twitter at ATU Truckers. You can also come to our website at AmericanTruckers.com. Whether you're a concerned citizen, whether you're a truck driver or a carrier that's on your last leg and looking for support, we've got a great coalition now built of good
awesome.
mom and pop trucking companies, guys all the way up to 1,000 trucks, 300 trucks, guys as little as 30.
Yeah, so you can go to American Truckers. They're on X if you guys want to follow them. They have a lot of really good information on there if you're interested in this. I do. And so that's it. They call it the silent crisis because a lot of people don't know what's going on. I honestly had no idea this was a thing until maybe 2 months ago. And I've been really into trying to research this and figure out what's going on. But it's scary. It's not only is it first and foremost, this is an immediate safety issue for anyone that travels on the road. Me, you, your family, your children, your mom, everyone. This is a big deal and a really big issue. So that's first and foremost. But secondly, yeah, they're driving down wages for these American truck drivers. And making it, and they're taking their jobs. They took our jobs. They're taking their jobs. They are. So there's that, you guys. Yeah, the government's allowing it. They for sure are. They for sure are. But anyway, that's everything I have for you tonight. Thank you so much, you all, for joining. That was a good live. I hope you all have a really great evening. Absolutely, 100%. Involved in trucking for over 20 years. Good news, they are cracking down. That's awesome. Yeah, good news. Good news, they're cracking down. Good news, someone is paying attention. And Trump did. He signed that executive order. that said that you need to be proficient in English, which is actually wild that he even needs to sign that executive order, because technically that should already be the case, and it kind of is, but clearly something is happening. All right, thank you all. Oh, thank you, Dorian, Resurrection Prophet. Thank you, Harvey. Thank you, Fred Zeppelin. Thank you. And I'll see you all later. Y'all have a great night. All right, bye.